Okay, hello. Happy Take Action Tuesday. Happy Tuesday tips from the top. I just love Tuesdays. Honestly, you guys, like
Me
it
too.
gets me in such a good energy. I get so excited. It's like the momentum to really kick off the week. And today we have a topic that I am really excited to touch on because I feel like we're going to talk about how to really work with mentorship and how to be coachable. And this is something that a lot of people who are new to the industry, or even people who have been in the industry, they just don't know. They don't know the standards. They don't understand the boundaries. They don't know how to get the most out of their mentorship. They don't know how to be a good student. And this was me. Like, years ago, I did not know how to be a good student. And it wasn't until I had a mentor really break it down for me that I was like, okay, this makes sense. And then all of a sudden, I started really getting results in my business. So we're going to get into that. But if this is the first time that you are finding us, hello, my name is Jess Cardinal. I'm a coach, a mentor, a wife, a mom, and really I'm passionate about helping women step into their highest potential and really crack the financial code to making a shit ton of money. Like that is what lights me up. So that's a little bit about me. Who are you?
Yes, hello. I'm Tara L. And just like Jessica, I've been working online for almost a decade, which is crazy to even think about that. But my passion and my mission is just to help women realize that, their past doesn't define them. What's going on in their life right now, it doesn't matter. If you decide that you want more in life, that you have this burning desire inside of you that you don't know what it is or what to do, but you want more. I'm here to help you figure that out, break through your blocks, break through your stories. And like Jess said, make a fuck ton of money because money is not bad. I think a lot of times, like, society has put this thing on us, like, if you desire to have more money or be wealthy, like, you must be, greedy, evil, just making money like mean a bad thing. Like, it's a bad word to talk about money, although it's right up there with air. You need it to live, and it gives you experiences, and you can do some really cool shit with money. So we are literally breaking down that barrier and that stigma of desiring to want more, have more, and become more. So here we are.
No, I love that. And I think we should talk about this another day, but there's so much taboo around money. And the last thing I will say on that is that we do not have like the wonders that we do on this planet Earth of ours for us to not experience them.
Yeah.
Like, me and Tara were talking about like going to South Africa and going to, Paris and Italy. And like, there's all these places we want to go. And those places are not there for you to just like live in this tiny little home in this tiny little community in your little box forever. Like we are meant to experience these things. And unfortunately, in today's day and age, like to experience those things, it takes a lot of money, especially if you want to travel nice and, get nice hotels, which I like things that are nice. So,
Yeah.
but what we're going to be talking about today is I'm going to pull up my picture is really mentorship. And like I was saying when I opened the call, there's a way to get the most out of your mentorship containers. There's the best ways to really be a good student and become coachable so that you can get the most out of like the money and the time that you invest for mentorship. Because here's the thing, mentorship is the cheat code to your next level. Like you are not going to get to your next level by yourself. There's no way. Like if you don't read a book, if you don't hire a coach, if you don't hire a mentor, if you don't take a course, if you don't expand your mind in some way, shape, or form, you will not grow. It's just not possible. Everyone who grows in life, they will tell you, oh, I read this book. Oh, I watched this YouTube. Oh, I did this or that. Like there's something you got to tap into your next level in some way, shape, or form. But as Tara and I have coached and worked with thousands of women over the last couple of years, we really noticed the difference between the ones who take the mentorship and they run with it versus the ones who get the same mentorship and don't really do anything with it. And that really comes down to being coachable and how to be a good student. So Tara, do you want to jump into like the attributes of being coachable and what that looks like, or which way do you want to go?
Yeah, no, definitely. So we have a few different, topics that we want to talk about, like, underneath this umbrella. But, like Jess said, it really is important to have mentorship. And there is a difference between, being coached and having an actual mentor. There's a difference between both of those, but it's important to have one. And it's also important to know how to utilize the container, whether it be one-to-one or in a group coaching program, or just buying a course and then integrating it however, you want to do that. But if you are not taking full if you're not taking full action and responsibility for the differences of what your mentor's position is and what their job is and what your position is and what your job is, it's not going to create a cohesive partnership, and then the results that you desire you're not going to get, and it's going to leave you frustrated and then wanting to push the blame on the mentor when really it all falls on us. So like Jess said, it is the cheat code to success, because success does leave clues, but instead of doing the checks and balances and trial and error and seeing what works and doesn't work, you can get a mentor that can show you the way. But also what's important is everything in your physical reality right now, your bank account, your relationships, your job, all of it is just a direct reflection of your mindset, the stories you tell yourself, what you think you deserve, you believe, all of that, right? So if you want new results, okay, that's also not just the strategy that comes with it, right? Because you could have all the strategy in the world, but if you are not implementing the new stories and the new perspective that comes along with it, you're going to continue to keep creating the exact same results, right? So you hear people talk about breaking through the glass ceilings, right? We can only break through those glass ceilings and get to that next level when we have fully changed our mindset and the action steps that it takes to get there, right? So if you're somebody who thinks that it's absolutely wild to think that people are making $20,000 a month, right? You will not get there, because your brain cannot compute that $20,000 a month is possible. You might think that's, whoa, way crazy, when to us, $20,000 a month is a bad month. You know what I mean? But when you get around a mentor who's making exponential wealth, right, and all of their mentees are making exponential wealth, you're like, whoa, something goes off in your brain where you realize that you could only see, this level because you weren't opened up to something else, right? Mm-hmm. So it's important to really, when you get into mentorship, number one, they say, when you pay attention. So when you get things that are free, you don't really take full advantage of it. It's like, oh, okay, like I'll get to that later. I'll do it later. How many, think about this. How many posts do you save on Instagram, and how many times do you really go back to those posts?
So many times.
I'm guilty of that. Literally. I think the only posts that I go back to are my healthy recipes to make new recipes all the time. But other than that, I'm like, ooh, that was good. That was good. I have thousands of them and I never go back to a single one of them. Why? Because it's free content, right? But when I buy a $3,000 course, you bet your bottom dollar, I'm going to be watching that and integrating and implementing and going back to it and listening to it. I have a program that I bought. It was probably one of the most expensive programs I bought ever in 2019. And it was $2,500. That was a lot for me back then. And I probably watched that, no exaggeration, from beginning to end about 10 times. Like, I got my use out of that for sure. But when you pay attention. And also, you're sowing a seed. When you pay your mentor for this education, you're sowing a seed into your mentor, right? And you're sowing a seed into your own results. But there are people who will see, like, maybe their mentor posts about, oh, I had a $3 million a year. And if you're somebody that thinks like, yeah, well, $20,000 of that came from me, you're doing all wrong. That's horrible, because in any industry in the world, everybody makes money from everybody, no matter what. Okay. If you work a job, you are pushing your boss's company forward. You're making them, essentially, you're making them money, right? And they're reaping all the benefits, and you're getting paid a small amount hourly, what they think your time and energy is worth. So we can't look at our mentors and think like, oh, well, you're making all this money off of me, or you're doing, like, everybody makes money off of everybody. So that's the worst mindset that you could possibly ever have. And you're blocking yourself, and you're only calling people in that are going to think the same exact way of you.
You know what's so funny is, my ego years ago would say things like that. Like, ooh, you just shouted out that month, but it was because I did X, Y, and Z. But then it was like my mentor this month shouted out that she made $3 million in the first 25 days of January. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm part of that. Let's go. Let's go. And then even, let's break this down into people who follow us, a lot of like network marketers and
Yes.
people in teams where we have uplines and downlines. This is such a toxic behavior to get into where you say, your upline shouts out, oh, I had this big of a month, or I did this many units, or whatever it be. If they do that and you go, yeah, but this much was me, or it was
Right.
because of what I did. That is such a toxic behavior to get into. And, our upline in our like primary high ticket business, he's a couple generations above us, but he was talking about how his organization, which is me, a lot of me, how he did $250 million in 2024. And he was like, I'm going to do 300 million in 2025. And you know what I did? I said, yo, I was about 30 million of that. And if I have anything to do with it, I'm going to push you over that 300,000 or 300 million mark. Like it's about collaboration. It's about teamwork. If you can't root for other people, then it's just your own demise. And, me and Tara, we have uplines in our high ticket business that we do not vibe with. We do not have good relationships. We actually have very bad relationships with. But could you imagine if a year ago, when we had this separation with our bad uplines, if we were like, you know what, we're actually going to be really petty and not work our high ticket business because they're going to benefit off of us, our impact wouldn't grow. Our income wouldn't grow. Like,
But
it
that's
doesn't even make sense to like not do that, because there's always going to be someone above you don't like. There's always going to be a job or a boss, a CEO, or whoever that you don't like, right? Like, we all talk crap about Jeff Bezos, but we all still buy shit from Amazon. Like,
every
he's still
day.
raking in the money. We all talk shit about Elon, but we out here buying Teslas and whatever else
Mark
he's got.
Zuckerberg, but we're using Facebook every day.
We hate Meta, but we on Facebook every day. So it's like that mentality, the only person you are hurting is you.
Yeah.
Your upline, your mentor, whoever, like you're not affecting them. You're affecting you by being in your ego, by not, or by believing that kind of like mentality. It doesn't serve anyone at all. And then here's the thing, especially if you want to grow your bag and your impact, that means you're going to make money off of people who come below you, off of clients who buy from you. Like, that will never grow if you have this mentality of like, yeah, but my upline did this, or, my upline, I was this much of their money, or I was this much of their volume, or whatever it be. If you are so focused on that, yours will stop growing. And resistance or stagnation just leads to resistance. So maybe it's the other way around. Either way, you being in your ego like that, it doesn't hurt anyone except you. Except
Mhm.
you. And I think this is such a big thing to talk about in the mentorship space, is because some people really believe that.
And they will cut their nose. My mom used to use this phrase all the time. They will cut their nose off to spite their face, right? They're like, think about what that actually means. You're cutting your nose off to spite your face, but now you no longer have a nose anymore, really. So you're spiting yourself, not your face. You get what I mean? So just because we feel a certain type of way, my business is my business. I'm going hard. I'm quadrupling what I did last year. And yes, it's going to benefit people that I don't get along with or that I don't vibe with at all. But I don't care, because what they're making off of it has nothing to do with my bag and what I'm working towards. That's just such a bad mentality to have, and you have to remember that in mentorship, it's a value exchange,
Yeah.
right? So let's say you're a coach and the coach made $3 million that year, and you were a part of it because you spent $50,000 in a mastermind, right? It's a value exchange. You spent that $50,000, but then from that $50,000, maybe you made $500,000 that year, right? So if you think about it, that value exchange, you traded the 50,000 for all the knowledge you have to then go and teach other people, and for you to grow your business and grow bigger and bigger. Like, I don't think about those kinds of things at all. When I see my mentors and all of this growing every year and quadrupling their income, that inspires me to know that I can do that too. So when you see those types of things, instead of cringing or getting, rolling your eyes, cutting your eyes, or talking negatively, because all that's doing is blocking you from receiving that, know that you are meant to see that, because what you see in her, you see in yourself. That's all that is, you know? So that's really important. But another thing about being a good mentee is having that respect for, number one, each other. It's a two-way street. But when you can respect your mentor's time, you can also maximize your investment at the same exact time, right? So we have little boundaries that people might find, you know, in the beginning to be like, whoa. But for example, like I tell all my girls, when you send me a voice memo, you can either send me 2 1-minute voice memos or 1 2-minute voice memo, right? And the reason being is if I didn't have that, I would have all of my downline or all of my clients sending me 5 2 to 3 minute voice memos. I mean, think about that. That's like 20 minutes that I have to sit there and listen to each of them, like all in one day. And most of the time, if you think about it, the point doesn't come till the end. It's just like all this extra talking and rambling and all that. So this is something that my mentors used to implement with me. So I'd be looking at the time and realizing that sometimes I had to stop it and redo it because I hadn't even gotten to the point yet. So that helps you to really think about, okay, what is it that I'm actually saying? And let me get to the point so that they can then coach me on what it is that I need, right? But people in the beginning, they might think like, well, that's rude. No, it's not rude. It's boundaries, time. And also we want to help you with what it is you need because time is of the essence. So if you ask me this question, I give you the answer. You can go integrate, boom, you can go and get the result. Does that make sense? A lot of people don't know how to work with mentors, but if you're coming into the container thinking like, well, they owe me everything because I joined with them or because I did this or because you have it all wrong. And that mentality will not only hinder your growth in your business, but you will attract people that think the same way, if not worse.
Yeah. And, going along with that, I actually just did a voice note inside of our Telegram container that we have right now about mentorship and how a lot of people invest into mentorship to want to be seen. Like they don't feel seen or heard in their
Yes.
jobs. They don't feel seen or heard by their spouse. They don't feel seen or heard by their loved ones. So they join and pay and invest into mentorship to be seen. But then they get a rude awakening when they realize that's not what business mentorship is for. So again, going back to like the long voice notes, a lot of people do that because they just want to say things. Like they just
Yeah.
want to say things and talk and like get out like what they're going through and all the backstories that actually aren't pertinent to what they need. And so they get offended because they're like, well, my mentor doesn't care. But we have to think about mentorship. And I think about mine, right? Like how many clients they have, how many people, how many team members they have, these organizations that they're running, all of the day to day that people don't really
Yeah.
realize goes into running a massive organizations like that we run and companies that we run. And it's like if they tried to sit every single day and listen to all of these voice notes and listen to all and just be friends with every single client that they had, for one, they would burn out. For
Yep.
two, no one would get results because that's not what mentorship in business is for. Now, if you hire a life coach, that's different, right? Or there's coaches for relationships or coaches for trauma therapy or whatever, but like that's different. But if you're investing into business mentorship to be seen, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And that's when people get offended is they're like, well, why don't you care about me? Or why don't you want to hear about it? And it's like, it's not that I don't care about you. It's that my job is to get you results in your business. My job is to help you 10x your strategies and your income. My job isn't to sit and be your friend every day. And it's not that I don't want to. It's just that that's not what my capacity is for. And people get this really mixed up and then they get offended. But what we have to remember is that mentorship is a two-way street. I tell people this all of the time. It's not, like Tara said briefly, it's not like you invest into mentorship and now the mentor owes you extra time and they owe you anything because you invested with them. That's not how it works. Mentorship is a two-way street, meaning that the mentor provides you value, but you also provide value back. And a lot of people get confused. They're like, well, how do I provide value to my mentor? And providing value to your mentor is being on time, respecting their time, not expecting more from them than what the contract says. It's doing the work that you say you're going to do. It's giving them shout outs when it's makes sense to do so. They don't need to be coddled, but still a shout out every now and then is really nice. It's just being respectful and like putting in the work that you said you were going to do, that is really valuable to us. So like when people invest with Tara and I as coaching clients, what makes us excited is when we see them go do what they said they were going to do. Then it's like, hell yeah, let's do this. Like that makes us feel good. That is what is valuable to us. And then they respect our time, and then we have this two-way street, and then they get results and everyone is happy, right? But what doesn't make sense is to invest into mentorship or to invest into a container and then not do anything. And then thinking, because I put money into X, Y, and Z, I should just automatically get results. And that is another thing we see happening, right? And here's the thing. Tara and I have sold a lot of, we sold coaching courses, and we have a platform training, and we can see who's doing the work and how much work. And it is
Yeah.
insane the amount of people who say, I'm doing everything, why isn't it working? Or I want more from you, but you've been through 50% of the training. Like,
Or 12% of the training.
or 12% of the training. And this happens all the time. People invest into masterminds or they invest into courses, and they're like, I should just automatically be better because I invested money. But it's like, you have to invest into yourself by doing the work as well. The mentor can't be just doing the work for you. So when I invested, my highest amount into mentorship, which was $80,000 for an 8-week container, it was like, I'm gonna be here. I was traveling during that time. I think I traveled twice during the time. I was like, I'm gonna be there. I don't care what time of day it is. I'm on an airplane. I'm gonna make it happen. I was in the Voxer chat getting as much odds as I could. Like I was putting in the work that I was told to do. Like I was giving it my all, because I could have invested that 80K and been like, oh yeah, it'll all come back to me, and like showed up part-time and then been mad because I didn't get the results that I wanted. I didn't connect with the women inside the container or whatever it be. But I think that's an important point to note too, because I think a lot of people do that. They just throw money at it and they're like, oh, well, I should just get something in return because I put money into the ether,
Yeah.
but it doesn't work that way.
No. And so like when you reach out to your mentor and they're pouring their wisdom into you because they see, this individual that has so much potential, right? So you come to them, you ask them a question, they pour into you, they give you like all their best tips and tricks and all that. But then they're watching like over the course of the next like few weeks, and like nothing that you guys spoke about is being put into action. And then you come back 3 weeks later and you're like, I don't understand, like this is how I'm feeling, or I still don't know what my block is, or this is what's, and it's like, well, we talked about X, Y, and Z the last time, and you haven't done anything to implement that. That starts to feel like,
Disrespectful.
yeah, it does, because we care about your results, right? It's not like, oh, you invest and then we're like, okay, see you later. And then we go on our merry way. No, if you're my client, I want you to have results. And I had to learn how to separate the fact of people investing and then not doing the work and making it not mean anything about me, right? Because that's going to happen. People are going to invest and then they're maybe show up for 1 or 2 calls and then you never hear from them again. And then we make it mean something about us as the mentor, and it really doesn't. It's that people start and they don't finish. And how you do one thing is literally how you do everything in your entire life. And if you're only showing up on days that you feel like it, you're never going to get to where you want to be, because we don't wake up every day feeling like it, right? And so either A, your why isn't strong enough, because I always say if your why is strong enough, your try will be long enough to get to your why. So it's either not big enough or you are living off of feelings, which feelings are fleeting emotions, right? Not every day people feel like going to the gym. Not every day people feel like going to work. 9 out of 10 times people don't want to go to their 9 to 5 job, but they know that if they don't go to work, they don't get a paycheck, and their family is depending on that. They have to go to work. So if they didn't go to work because they didn't feel like it, well, they'd be homeless, right? So I don't know why it's any different with business. Just like when they're going through things in their life, they're like, I'm going through a lot. I need to take time off. Well, when you're going through a lot in your personal life, do you not show up for work? No. And you have to leave your problems at the door and show up for work and, put on the smiling face for customer service and put the customer or the client or whatever it is that you do, at the forefront, or your boss is going to get pissed. So it's the same thing when you're showing up on social media, where people get that confused and they think like, oh, well, I have people that, in my life that know what I'm going through. So when I'm showing up online and I'm looking like I'm happy or I'm excited, it looks like I'm being fake. And it's like, no, it doesn't look like you're being fake. You're not talking about my life is perfect. You are marketing your business. And do you think that the head of the marketing department of Sephora, if they're going through a life-changing thing, that they have to show up and be miserable, or they have to show up and put a smile on their face and put the marketing out? Or whoever's in the marketing campaign for Sephora, if they're the face of Sephora, if they're going through a nasty divorce and custody agreement, are they being fake because they have to be smiling in the commercial for Sephora? No, because one thing has nothing to do with the next. When you're working, you're working. So, and that's a whole nother topic that we could talk about, the duality of, walking with joy and sadness, or success and failure at the same time. But it's important to really understand that you need to respect your mentor's time, and you need to have more respect for your business and put that on a pedestal. People put mentors on these pedestals, and it's okay to look up to your mentor and be inspired by your mentor, but you need to put yourself on a pedestal, and not in a self-serving way, but putting yourself there where you're like, I can do this. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to disrespect myself by not showing up every day, no matter what's going on in my life, which also leads me to, the impact of what entitlement can do for your business solely and for a community. Because what can start to happen is, if you're feeling this type of way, and then you're syncing up with people and gossiping about what you think that you should deserve, that starts to spread like a cancer throughout so many people, because gossip and negativity breeds faster than positivity and results in success and all of that.
Dude, it's so bad. Me and Tara, like we said, we've been in this industry for a long time, and we have seen it rip apart communities when ego and entitlement really takes over. And so this is something you got, like, I wish I could put you in the rooms with like me and my mentor. I'll ask, like, okay, this is what I did. This is what I thought. This is what I said. Was I in my ego? Was I out of pocket? Like, tell me. Like, I am asking for clarification. I tell it to Tara all the time. We're on the phone every day. We're like, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm feeling. Are we acting out of pocket, or like, is this correct?
And I'll tell her and she'll tell me. Like, if I'm like, tell me if I was wrong, and she'll be like, well, maybe you should have X, Y, and Z. And then sometimes she'll be like, no, I don't think you were. And the same with her. I'll be like, well, maybe you could have blah, 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 blah. And sometimes she'll be like, no, you weren't. We're honest we're not the type of business partners or friends to be like, yes, when she's wrong, or no, when she's right. We don't do that, because that's not beneficial.
It's almost like our own form of checks and balances. We do this together. We do it with our individual mentors. We do it as a community. Like, it is so important, because ego will destroy you. And it's the moment, like, you can really start to spot it when all of a sudden you're like, I could do it better than my mentor, or I wouldn't have really done it that way. There's a difference between like having your own way to want to do things, because we all are individual. Tara leads differently than I lead. She coaches differently than I coach. We sometimes have a little bit of a different process, and that's okay. We understand our strengths and our weaknesses, but it's when all of a sudden all you notice is weaknesses, when all of a sudden all you see is the differences and not the similarities. That is what tears people apart so quickly. And so having this conversation around like mentorship with entitlement, it's like, what are you expecting from your mentor? Are you expecting more than what the expectations were set that they were going to give? Are you all of a sudden expecting that they start to bend their boundaries for you, that they give you more than you give? Because again, it's a give and take, right? It's not just I always think when I talk about it, I always think about Hocus Pocus, and she's like sucking the lives, She's like, that's what I think about bad, like clients who just want to take everything from you. They're just like hocus pocusing the life out of you. And it's like, chill, okay? This is a give take. I'm gonna give you some, you're gonna give right back. We're gonna take, I'm gonna take. Like, we're gonna do this together. It has to be a mutual thing, because if all we're getting is just like take, all it does is it makes me want to like push you away more. Because again, it's not like you need to give me strategies. It's not like you need to give me skill sets. It's you need to give me respect. You need to give me, gratitude. You need to give me a mutual thing where we feel mutually good together, rather than I'm just going to take from you when I want to take from you because it benefits me. That kind of relationship and that energy just does not work well for me, because mentorship, anybody. Mentorship is like, I've been where you want to go, and I'm going to walk the path with you. It's not, I'm up here at the top of the hill telling you exactly what to do. It's like, at least the way I like to do it, is a very close proximity with my people. And so it's like, if I'm going to be walking next to you on the path, I want it to feel good. I
Yeah.
want it to feel good, right? And so that kind of entitlement will take you out really, really quickly. And then within the community. So what we want to be doing as the mentees and as the clients, and I say this because me and Tara are still mentees and clients in other forms, is we want to be an example for the community, like how to work well in the group settings, how to go take action, how to take messy action, because that is what's going to inspire the community within large. And that's really what we want to be doing, is connecting with one another, inspiring and motivating one another, and building relationships, because networking inside of our industry is so important. Like it takes one person to present to you like the best opportunity. Like me and Tara have an opportunity that we're going to experience this year, TBD. And that came from a connection I made in my 80K mastermind. And that would never have presented itself. I would never have met this woman if it wasn't for connecting inside of that mastermind. So networking inside of these containers is also so important in the right way. Again, it's not to click up and gossip and be like, can you believe what she said today? Or I didn't agree with that today. Even if you don't agree with something, even if you would do something different, the best thing I could tell you to do is keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Keep
Go
it to
talk to
yourself.
your husband, your sister, somebody who's not in the same proximity as you. Because the moment that happens, you are spreading and planting seeds of doubt and negativity into other people. And that's just wrong. It's not right. And again, what you put out is what you're going to get back tenfold. And you think that, it's this, what's the word? Like like I can't think of the word right now. I always do this and I always think about it after. But you think that you're feeling some type of way, and then you want to go out there and start talking to all these people, and then all of a sudden it's created this community of everybody being happy and excited to now people feeling things that they weren't feeling before. And it's so very easy for people who might already feel a little frustrated because they're not where they're at yet and stuff, to go from excited to now everybody's cutting their eye or syncing up or gossiping. Because another thing that I've noticed in this industry is people are inspired by their mentor. They join their mentor, they're excited about what they're doing, and then they stop taking action, they don't get results, and then slowly but surely then they start feeling some type of way about their mentor, even though their mentor did nothing to them. They're still the same person, they've poured everything into them, give, and now you're feeling some type of way because they're continuing to have success, and you're not, simply because you haven't continued to keep going, or whatever it is that happened. That's unfair too. So now if you're feeling some type of way and you're syncing up with the community and gossiping and talking badly, now you're basically planting seeds into other people that didn't need to happen in the first place. And it's a bad trait to have, but it happens a lot with people when they feel like they should be further along. However, when you look at their track record of the things that they've done, they're exactly where they're supposed to be.
Yeah. Or, I had something in my brain that I was going to say, but it also happens with people who, all of a sudden they start getting results, and they start getting results quickly. And that takes away the character building that needs to
Oh
happen
yeah.
on the way to success. John, I think it is John, Jason, I suck at names. Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street guy, said something about how he created this closing system, this sales system, and he went and created all of these $1 million earners like real freaking quick. Like these 20-year-olds who had never touched money before, all of a sudden are making millions of dollars per year. And what he learned was that it created success without responsibility, and power without responsibility, and wealth without restraint, and all of these kinds of things. Because all of a sudden we go from struggling to making a ton of money, and we think we got it. And I will always be grateful. Like I always tell you guys a story about how in 2023, my income was stuck at the same exact level for a year. But I am so grateful for that year, because that year I built so much character. I learned so much about myself. I learned, My ego was in check the whole freaking time. And then I had my exponential growth in 2024. And I am so grateful it worked out the way that it did, because me as an addict who has obsessive compulsive behavior, I get addicted to things real easy. Even now that I'm clean, like I still addict to other behaviors. Like if I would have went from $0 to $100,000 per month in my first year, I probably would have gotten taken out. Like my addiction would have just like went right back out the door. Like it would not have been good for me. And so that
Your
character
ego to
building
kick in
over
with the
time.
money. When you see yourself like you're always struggling and you never can do certain things, and then you're starting to make all this money, and now you have all these people that are congratulating you and looking to you and making you feel good and telling you all these nice things, your ego can take over, and your ego is not your amigo, okay? But your ego can take over, and now you're like, oh, I know it all. Look at what I've done. I got this. I don't need this. I don't need that. Let me tell you something. I made multiple seven figures, and I'm still learning. I'm still a student, and I'm still going to invest, and I'm still going to, know my position when I get into other rooms, and not just sit there and flick my hair and be like, yeah, I've done this and I've done that and blah, 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 blah. No, I go in there very humble. And when they ask me and they're like, oh my God, really? And I'm like, yeah, but I play my position is what I'm like trying to say, and people in this industry, because in network marketing, you can go from 0 to 100 real fast. They forget that you need to have humility and be humble and understand that you still have not made it yet. Because as fast as you got there, you could come right back down,
Yeah.
right back down. And the money doesn't, there's a lot of like people making a lot of money, but they're not leaders.
Money
They're
doesn't
making
equate
money.
leaders. Money
No,
and rank does not make you a leader. And this is
no.
where people really get it twisted, because they don't even understand like what all goes into leadership. And this is just like acquiring emotional intelligence. Everything we're talking about, like talking about not clicking up with people in your community, not talking bad about your mentorship or your leaders to other people in the community. This is just all emotional intelligence. And this is why the industry gets such a bad rap, is because there's so many unintelligent like people running around with their emotions like just like they're in high school all over the place, because they don't know how to check their emotions. They've never done this before. We're all of a sudden in this community with all of these women. There's like successful people, unsuccessful people. Like it's just like it could be a lot. But you have to be the one to take responsibility for your position and where you're at right now. And so it wasn't until I had a mentor tell me, and I'll be totally honest with you guys, because this was a life-changing moment for me. So before I was making money, I was in the company, my high ticket business that I'm in right now, my primary business, and I was clicking up with people. This is what I did. It was like me and a bunch of very low ranking people who were not closing sales and not making money. We were just chit chatting in a group all day. And sometimes we'd be doing work, but a lot of it was talking trash, right? And it wasn't until my mentor literally looked me in the eyes in person and she was like, you're not making money because you're talking to these people. So do you either want to stay talking to these people, or do you want to sit close to me and make money? And I was like, oh, not necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily like say that to a client today in the way that she said it, but I need that kind of tough love. It's just the way
Yeah,
that I am. And so
me
for
too.
me, it clicked and it was like, holy shit, you're right. Then all of a sudden I started sitting close to her and I started doing more with her and moving myself away from this clique. All of a sudden I started making 10, 20, $30,000 per month. And it was because, and these people, by the way, still are nowhere in that business. A lot of them still work the company because I know what's going on. And they're not even top ranked, nowhere near where I am today. And so it's like you can choose to click up, but that you will stay right there in this little bubble. Or you can choose to sit close to the people who have what you want and remain a student and stay humble and realize that you don't know everything, and that's okay. You are a leader and that's beautiful. You can step into leadership, but we're always a student. That is why I invested over $120,000 into my mentorship last year. I will invest six or multiple six figures again this year because that's what's important to me. Like we have to remember these things, but it all comes with managing your emotions first and not letting your emotions of like wanting to click up override, because that happens.
Yeah. And last thing on this topic is, when I had left the industry and I said I was never coming back, before that happened, I had joined two people prior in the industry that had made less money than me and when I say made less money, the money that you make in this industry is a direct reflection of the amount of people that you've helped to be successful. So understand what I mean by less money. It's like they hadn't had that level of teaching those, not only have they not had the success, they haven't helped other people. So by me joining under somebody who hasn't had that, it was like I being underneath them am helping them to make all this money. Amazing, right? But I'm also pouring into them, training their team. And it's like, I need somebody to be pouring into me and helping me. So when I found Jess, and I saw like where she was at in her business, I had said I was never going to do that again, like join under somebody who hadn't had that level of success as me, yet, because I didn't want to go through that again. And I knew that if I was going to join, this might be my forever place. However, the reason why Jess was an anomaly for that was because I stalked her page, and what caught my eye was the live that she did. When I watched that live, which I never watch people's lives that I don't know, which it was just so weird that that happened. But when I watched, I was like, oh, like she sounds like me when she was coaching. Then when I was scrolling back on her content, I realized that, she was hustling. She was like grateful. She was, making multiple five figures. So I saw that she was like at this place where she was on the rise to explode. So it was like I was going to be joining with somebody who was still in hustle mode, not at a level where sometimes people get to this level and they just like they stop working because they don't need to work as hard. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to be joining, I'm going to be running, she's still running, so this could be a really good partnership. And by the way that she's talking and the way that she like, we can be really good together. She could be pouring into me, I could be pouring into her. And you know what, funny as it is, she was exactly what I needed, because even though she hadn't had that level of success yet, she taught me a lot about boundaries that I never had, emotional intelligence, and a lot of other things. She has her strengths, I have mine, but it was literally everything I needed in that moment. And I never at one point looked at her and was like, yeah, she's where she's at because my team is doing this, this, and that. Like, I've never done that. I've never cut my eye at her or, watched her. She had her first $100,000 month before I did. And I was there like clapping her, shouting her out, shouting from the rooftops. And that's why we work so well, because we're not jealous of each other. Doesn't matter if she gets there first or I do. It doesn't matter, because you will get there. It's just not your time yet. We always think that we should be further. If it was your time, you'd be there. Trust me when I tell you. So again, I could have looked at her like that and thought like, oh, well, I've done this before. Well, I've been at the top before. Well, I've done this before. And never once have I ever thought that, because again, my emotional intelligence is in check, and I'm grateful for the things that she's done for me. You can't be grateful until you get to where you want to be and then think you're better than somebody. You just can't do that. And I mean, you could do that, but that's going to stunt your growth every single time. And once you really sever those ties with your mentor and that trust is broken, it won't ever be the same.
Mm-mm. No, I think that's all so good. You guys, we went so deep on this, but it's so important. And, the more coaching clients we work with, the more our organizations grow, the more we work with mentors and we buy in, new courses and new coaches and kind of see how everyone's doing things. It just felt like such an important conversation
Yeah.
to have, because again, like we're not just born knowing how to be good students. We're not just born knowing how mentorship really works. And for me, I need people to keep me in check. Like I said, my mentor keeps me in check all the time. She'll be like, nah, yeah, we need to talk about this, and I'll call Tara and I'll be like, all right, new perspective unlocked. Like, we need to talk about this, because we can only see what we can see, but we don't understand that there's actually such a bigger picture going on than we even see. And that's something, as leaders that we work really hard to do, is see the bigger perspective, because we get so busy in the day to day. We forget like what's real, what's not real. We forget that Tara sees things a different way than I see things. We see things different than the way our leaders see things, and vice versa. And so what we're doing at the top is we're collaborating, and that's what's most important. And keeping good mentorship and mentee boundaries so that you guys can get what you need out of your containers that you invest in, because that's really what it's about, is the
And
result.
keeping good colleagues at the same time is also important as well. And just really realizing that, maybe I need to check myself, or if someone's coming to me and they're, maybe gossiping about my mentor, they're saying certain things, to be like, what, maybe you should have that conversation with her instead of lending your ear for that negativity and bringing down your frequency, and then, letting that spiral. Maybe give them the tips to maybe have that conversation or do other things, because again, that will stunt your growth because people that are in the room and millionaire, they're not wasting their time doing that. They're spending their time growing, learning, implementing, impacting, and all that, other stuff. I even have to check myself at times and say, like, would my, $5 million a year self say that, do that, act like that, wear that, eat that? We have to constantly keep ourselves in check, because the thing is that, yeah, it's cool to make 10,000, 20,000, 30. People could be happy for the rest of their life with 30,000. And if you are, that's cool. But if you want to continue to grow and make impact, we have to constantly be breaking those stories, those ceilings, those everything, to continue to keep on going higher and grow, to, pour into other people and help them to continue to grow and all of that. And that's why we are, constantly growing and evolving, growth and evolution over a lifetime. And, if you guys watched us in 2024, saw what we did, 2025 is going to be even bigger rooms, bigger experiences, more impact. And I'm just so excited, and I'm excited to bring you guys along for the ride. So yeah, today's topic was amazing. Maybe like watch it back, listen back, think what you could do to have a better mentorship or be a better mentee, to implement your results so that you can become a better mentor to your clients and students and whatever have you, so that you can teach them as well, because it's learn one, teach one. And we want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can in our power to then go ahead and set that example, for the rest, for years and years and years to come. So yeah, that's pretty much it, you guys. If you guys are listening to this on Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review. Also share this on Instagram, tag us at the Wealthy Woman Playbook. Like we said, we are giving away 3 giveaways. And once we get to 1,000 downloads, we're getting super close. We're so excited. So thank you guys all so much for your love, listening in, tuning in. And yeah, anything else you want to add, Jess?
No, that's it. Just share this out with your teams. You can get the share button, copy link, share it to your teams, have them watch this. So again, you can develop your mentorship. They can develop how to be a good mentee, and then continue to trickle it down. And we will see you on Thursday on Spotify for a new
Yes.
episode.